Hi guys. So we've been thinking about how to start our today vlog or whatever, or documentary, because we want to start documenting our days, or some of our life, and as we go through mental health and things like that. And I'm a bit claustrophobic, and well, I decided, I don't know what made me think, but I grabbed a Qtip. I just have a lot of anxiety today. I suffer from a lot of depressions and stuff. And I grabbed a Qtip and decided to start cleaning my ear, but it was a wooden Qtip. It looks a little dirty because I put it in a dusty cup for some reason. Or a little lotus candle holder or something like that. And what are you doing? No, I don't. I don't know why he keeps doing that. That's not what I want him to do anyway. But, of course, this is me and Hugo. Anyways, so I start kind of trying to figure out how am I going to holler for Hugo. Because I heard the snap. And I felt it snap off. And I go to touch and I'm like, how far did it snap to the end? And I could feel the tip kind of push slightly back into my ear. And I'm like, oh my God, I shouldn't have even tried to touch it. And I end up kind of trying to figure out how am I going to holler for Hugo. So I tilt my head down sideways, and all of a sudden I start, wait, yeah, I started what?
And all of a sudden I was downstairs and I started hearing screaming, and all of a sudden I said, oh my God, not again, something wrong upstairs, who get hurt, Anna's doing all right, and it's all on few split second, adrenaline starts rushing, then I come upstairs and she said she have that stuck in her ear, and I look down and it's fairly deep. And of course, Lisa, for be honest, very good woman. I love her with all my heart. But when it comes time to control herself.
My anxiety.
My God. I tell you, something is something else. And I know she cannot move too much. And she's shaking and sweating, and she go upstairs, lay on her side. I told her to keep her ear down there, and I look with the flashlight, and it's fairly deep in it.
You said to me, I'm not going to be able to get this out. You're going to have to call your sister, and you're going to have to get her to take you to the hospital. And I was almost crying. And at that point, I was like, oh my gosh. I started saying a small prayer. Please tell me he's going to get this out. And then all of a sudden, he looked at it for another second and then took a deep breath. And it was like almost I could feel like he was just going to say it. And he goes, well,
and
what did you say?
I doesn't want to tell her because I see the angle and I see the size is a smaller tweezer we got. And I just going to make her believe she's going to have to go to the hospital because I doesn't want her to be ready for the thing. She told me she already feels some pain on her eardrum or something.
Felt it pressing against her.
I just decided I'm going to tell her, well, let me look at it, and probably going to have to go to the hospital. And I keep talking to her, and I went down with the tweezer and already tried to control my shake, and clook, I take it out. And oh my God, thanks God.
Yeah, and just before that too, kind of just before I went in to grab it, he was like reassuring me that he could get this out of my ear. He's like, and so I was like, I took a deep breath, I held on, he took it out of my ear, and as soon as I felt it pulling out nicely, and it actually came out nicely, like it was soft, it didn't hurt. I was like, oh my gosh, but I'm claustrophobic too, so it doesn't really help because I felt like, something was isolating me, and it was in my ear, so that was even worse, and that it was inside my ear, and I'm like, I was trying so hard not to panic, but I thought I was gonna have to go to the hospital just for my blood pressure alone. But anyways,
that's what I talk about, control.
And anyways,
no one.
And anyways, Hugo. So I thought we would start explaining a little bit what he was doing when I started screaming. We started setting up. It looks like a disaster right now, and I mean, people always show their houses like perfect and all this stuff like that. But I am. We do have a family who has, my mom was an older woman. She's or is an older woman. She's like in her mid 70s and stuff like that, and was living with us. But as things progress in life, and our relationship always hasn't been the best or the greatest, so We try to help her. She tries to help
3
us.
years, where are you from?
Yeah. She tries to help us. We try to help her, and it just becomes a nightmare back and forth. So we tend to, anyways, she moved out. We're moving her stuff
She
out.
have done great things for us, but
Hi guys, so welcome to our channel, and my hair is doing some funky stuff. I want to say thank you to our new followers as we start beginning our channel. We are working on a new room. So there's a lot of things that we have gone through, a lot of things that we do as we are starting to work on finishing up some canvases, things like that. All our canvases glow in the dark. I suffer from mental health, so a lot of our canvases have a glow in the dark effect. So, it's kind of like going through, there's always light through the darkness kind of thing. Hugo and I, this was originally my mom's room. She stayed with us, things like that. And it's really difficult to go over where we live with all that stuff. We will start going over all, how everything has happened in our life. It's been so crazy. There's just always event after event. I am coming out here with a lot of focus for mental health as well. Being a medical mom, being a medical dad for Hugo, we go through a lot of different things and a variety of situations. Majority of medical parents, I don't even know the statistics, I haven't even looked at it, but I know a big high percentage of parents who are medical parents often have a lot of higher stressors, and couples, usually tend to struggle. It is, like a make it and break it situation. It's a very stressful situation for both parents to sometimes take on and say, like, this is happening to our family. And there's a lot of emotions that happen. And, there's, so many different dynamics out there. Not everybody's situation is the same. Some are similar, some are not. A lot of times medical families will lose a lot of family members or friends and become a very isolated world. It all depends on, I truly believe, your surroundings of people's. And I mean, it's very hard when people hear that you have a child with a terminal diagnosis. People are like, oh gosh, nobody knows what to say. The reality that something happens to someone's child that is kind of insane. So our story is really insane to go through. I'm new to the channel of YouTube, kind of. We did start a channel a long time ago where we were able to show Anna's trait change, but unfortunately my son was doing gaming and decided to delete my email, which really sucked when I tried to get into my YouTube channel. I couldn't get into the channel because he deleted that. I lost the password, so we lost that YouTube channel, and we have to basically be like, hey, YouTube, and when we get to that point of life, that was our channel. It was doing fairly well, and then I couldn't get back into it. That's all it was. So anyways, how I wanted to describe this is our room that we will be transitioning. As you can see, I'm going to, we have our canvases that we have been working on for quite a few months now. This one ended up with a dent in it, so I'm going to try to figure out what I can do for it. I don't know how that happened. So I've got this one up here. One that my dad used to keep on his wall when I was young. He used to absolutely love this. I don't know why, but he did, and it's done in oil pastel. He absolutely loved it, so I'm going to keep the frame, everything, and I think I'm going to coat it in the honor of his memory. He just, I don't know, something he loved. It was my stepdad. Here's the hearts in the window hero. You can see it's like inspired by Hearts in the Window. There is a community on Facebook, I guess, and I kind of followed them through all of COVID, and I did this with Anna, my oldest daughter, during the whole COVID. It is glow in the dark as well. You can see there's a baby foot kind of shape that we put in the center in honor of our son Caleb, since his his name meant heart. Sorry, I've had a very long day. I do suffer with PTSD, anxiety, depression. actually complex PTSD. And that's a lot of why I want to start stepping out with these videos. And here's another canvas. I'll start showing you canvases so you're not staring at the same thing. I wanted to start coming out with it because I do suffer from PTSD. I do struggle with suicidal thoughts in my life. I did make an attempt when I was 15 years old that I survived from. A drug overdose of over 500 pills in my system. How do I explain that? Here is kind of, I know I'm explaining things so over the wall, all over the place, but here is kind of another canvas. This is one that I really do like that resembles mental health. Hope did the ripple effects in the back on the blue canvas, and I decided to add a labyrinth with the semicolon inside as the mental health awareness symbol, and the labyrinth that we get through mental health. This also glows in the dark. All our canvases do. I try to add some selenite as well as selenite stone to it, which and some of the canvases need to be still finished yet. So selenite is a stone, and I pastel drew that as well. It looks really cool when it glows through the canvas at nighttime. You can see a kind of a yellow glow. And so the hearts in the windows kind of is that inspiration of everything we've been through that other people were going through during COVID. You can see like the cracks and stitches through the hearts, and the beauty and the color and all that stuff, and how the world went through all this together. So I do plan on donating that to the Stollery. Hugo did design his own, well, not really design, but he carved this then epoxy. If you can notice, he puts 2003 hope, faith, and love. So a whole difference of a year compared to what we've been having over the whole trial and errors of COVID, the situations that we dealt with, through all of this weird turmoil that everybody had to go through in the world. It was crazy. It was really, insane, because me and Hugo kind of lived that world of COVID in our home, but the whole world to join in was really kind of weird on the same things we do, because we have a daughter with spinal muscular atrophy, type 1, Anna, and her muscles are weak, all those kinds of things. So, she's muscles kind of waste away because she's not getting the proper signals to her brain. She's missing an SMN1 gene, I guess is what it is, and a certain amount of genes. And it's a whole lot of things to go over. So it's not why I suffer from PTSD or anything like that. And I suffer from PTSD is when it started at childhood. I went through a lot as a child. I went through a lot with both my parents. They were both good people, but they both had their own addictions. My mom was gambling addictive, online romance scam now. My dad was, his drinking picked up as their addictions both stressed each other out. They both picked up on their addictions, and unfortunately my sister and I were the result of the turmoil of traumas. Those turmoil of traumas have turned into a really hard or difficult living situation in life in some ways. Lack of trust in people, a lot of pain that I carry, a lot of hurt. Disbelief that we would go through things like that, that nobody would ever speak up. It was so much, and it was like so much to intake, and as an adult, really difficult to trial and get through, right? So then you have a daughter who gets diagnosed with a terminal illness on top of that. She was diagnosed at, I believe, about 5 months old, with spinal muscular atrophy type 1, which is considered the #1 genetic killer in infants. And, both Hugo and I are a carrier, and we passed on the gene to Anna, which makes an SMA child, in simple terms. I can get all to that later. Then we had our second son, Caleb, and Caleb had Williams syndrome, hydrocephalus, and the combination of both was never medically ever recorded in history. Part of me feels like I should have never done the CVS testing, because that's the risks of CVS testing, is that, there can be complications or stuff like that with early on pregnancy. And since it was done so early on in the pregnancy, I feel like there was that complication that just occurred. And I feel like that was the damage to this. I don't know. It's my own opinion, my own way of how I feel about it. I don't know how other people would, there's so many medical terms and, would never really know, right? So Caleb was born with a combination of Williams syndrome, hydrocephalus. Unfortunately, we did lose him Father's Day to a viral pneumonia. It's a struggle in our relationship because Hugo and I, we were so back and forth during that time. I kept saying he was sick, and everybody else kept saying that I was being a hypochondriac and that I would eventually get locked up soon. And I had medical knowledge, medical background. I worked in long-term care as a nursing aide with a lot of amazing LPNs, hoping to become an LPN myself at some point. But unfortunately, Anna was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy May 22nd, 2008. My appointment at the college was May 28, 2008. So that can tell you what happened right there. We got admitted May 22nd. I had to rapidly start educating myself on what spinal muscular atrophy was, the odds that we were facing, and everything I looked at was, they didn't live past 7 months, majority of them. So I was devastated. I was alone as a single mom. Hugo had to make a lot of decisions for himself, for his family. He had 3 children back in Quebec, which is all the way across from Canada here from us. I'm in Alberta, and that's where we met. He was just not on good terms of his relationship, and his kids were caught in the middle of that whole situation of our lifestyle. So he made the decision to go see what he could do to better the life for his children, to better the life for of the situation, and see what, it was what it was. So I took care of Anna for 7 months alone. I was, and her diagnosis, things like that. And his kids never did travel back this way. Hugo did come back this way eventually. When we got the diagnosis for Anna, it was really difficult for him to come back right away. He had to go through counseling and things like that. To find out your daughter was terminally ill was something quite of a hit for us. We weren't expecting to ever lose Caleb. We lost him on Father's Day to a viral pneumonia that attacked his heart. He had a pulmonary stenosis that had a narrowing valve as well. And apparently with Williams syndrome, it's very detrimental that they have their hearts monitored very highly, and and they usually get surgeries very on early age in their life. And the hydrocephalus, it was water in the ventricle, and we had to get a shunt placed into his brain. So I had these 2 children thinking I'm this, complete failure as a mother. And then Hugo one day looked at this photo and he was like, I don't even know if I have this photo here. I don't. And said, look, Lisa, there's a sign that we'll have a baby girl. There's a whole complete family photo. And there was these picture of my son, our daughter, and Caleb put together. And in that photo, there was a baby doll, and the light was on the baby doll, and it was a baby girl in this photo here. And he said, just one more time. And I was like, no. And then I looked at the photo, was thinking about it. And anyways, eventually we did try again. And we had our baby girl, young, full, rambunctious, and all over the place. And her name, we named Hope after everything we've been through. She's the 7th child out of all our children. And I tell you, she makes up for everything. Our children do. And yes, I have a scar that goes from here to here that you can see. It's not as bad as it used to be. I was really upset when I woke up and later on looking at the scar because they told me it would only be about this big. And it turned out to be this big because they found the cancer had spread to my lymph nodes on the left side of my neck. So they had to remove some of my lymph nodes. And so this side kind of feels smaller than this side. I don't know, it's weird. I woke up and felt like gel or hollow and jelly and weird. And I remember waking up feeling all strange and being like, what the heck is wrong with my neck? And the surgeon comes running over right away. And he's like, you're awake, you're awake, you're awake. And yeah, I'm awake, all right. And he started explaining what was going on, and I didn't even have a family member there. The risks of thyroid cancer, and this is what I had. I had thyroid cancer as well. I'd gone through it. And the risks of it is once it starts spreading downwards, it can start spreading to your organs. And the risks of when it starts spreading are high of more cancer, things like that, or spreading down towards your organs and stuff. So it did start spreading towards my lymph nodes and attacking my lymph nodes. And I kept telling the doctor for a long time, there was so much pressure behind my ear and so much pain. And I kept telling him I can't hear very well. There's pressure behind here and my whole jaw hurts and all this stuff. And so I guess that's probably what it was. We did get that taken care of. And then I had to have a full hysterectomy, which probably isn't a bad thing in my situation or scenarios of things. And we removed all that. So because I had fibroids, which were risks for cancer, and just other complications. I had like a 5-centimeter cyst that's still in there, all this kind of stuff. Part of my bladder had an incision. It was like left side of my bladder, all this stuff. It was, a lot to intake for somebody who's already gone through a lot. Right after that, it was about, 6 months or so. I don't know even how long it was. I had a brain bleed. That's a rare brain bleed right here. I can feel it all the time in my head. A rare brain bleed that people typically normally die from. And it was kind of our breaking point in our relationship. We already gone through the cancer, the 2 surgeries, radiation, all that stuff, and thinking life is good now. We're on a good roll. I started getting ready to start running with the kids and go jogging and go for walks and get life back in order. And then all of a sudden, boom, in August, I was hit with this rare brain bleed right at the beginning of COVID in August. 6 was my thunderclap headache, so a pre-warning that something was going on. I was not admitted. I was sent home. They were told me it was just migraines or whatever. So then I went home. And August 10th, I was admitted in the hospital with not a thunderclap headache anymore. That's what I initially had in the beginning, was a thunderclap headache. And then the second one was a brain bleed. And Hugo was at work in Fort Mac, which is 5 hours away. They had to fly him home. He got delayed for 5 hours at the airport where they had told him I'm going in for a brain surgery, and they didn't know what my outcome would be. So Hugo ended up having a massive mental breakdown. By the time he showed up, I wasn't even hooked up to IVs for hydration. I hadn't drank water all day. Like, you would think somebody would have thought at that point to make sure that I'd be hydrated and well hydrated, but it wasn't. It was insane. So he started taking over. He's got a history of EMS firefighting from Quebec, in small town. They all become firefighters, I think. I think everybody, each and every one of them wants to be a firefighter. So in the small town that he lives in of Quebec. So he learned a lot because in Quebec, you don't have all the supports of, like when traumas happen and road traumas. And he has picked up his babysitter before in a tragic accident where unfortunately she was lost in that accident. Her dad and her uncle were in that scene. And so there's scenarios like that Hugo does deal with, because he also has PTSD, which is the partner of my 3 children, Caleb, Anna, and Hope. And then I have my other son from another relationship that didn't work out, and it was just not on good terms. So I chose to leave the relationship and move on with my life, try to work hard and be productive and get this good life going. And then all of a sudden, all these things started happening, and then we got hit with spinal muscular atrophy in our life and the knowledge of it. Quickly having to educate ourselves, having to learn what it was about. It was rapid research. And does my daughter have this chance or opportunity? And I found out that you could be proactive in their life. It is a lot of work for sure. And we had to flip our lives completely inside out. Just didn't even know what we're doing. We're just flipping our lives inside out. I just have to save my daughter's life, and that's all I cared about. So many things happened to me. Because then all of a sudden we had Caleb we got to start taking care of. And then my older son ended up losing a classmate in front of them due to an asthma attack. And then his stepmom miscarried and just lost his brother just before all of that. And he has a sister, he was so heartbroken. It was a lot to go through. I was going through paralegal school, and I had to drop out of paralegal school because he was going through so much emotionally. It was really difficult for the school to help him deal with his emotions and things like that. So we had to move on in our life. And I mean, this is where I want to start doing my vlogs or documentaries, what you want to call them. and start having people be able to follow me, because I am someone who has suffered through childhood abuse. I've suffered through a relationship of mental and a fair amount of mental, but some physical abuse and things like that. But, just gone through a lot emotionally on my own as a person. I suffer through so many things. And at 15, I did an overdose of 500 pills in my system. There was over 500 pills in my system of everything that I could grab, painkillers, everything that was in the house. My dad had broke his hip previously before. So you can imagine there was so many painkillers and heart pills and all these things in the house. I grabbed everything. And the pile was heaping over my bed, on my bed. And I drank them all down with a triple X case of beer. And I drank Crown Royal and straight Crown Royal with it, because I knew the alcohol with that was, and it was just, my mom found me and took me to the hospital, and I started vomiting instantly in the parking lot, and, which was a good thing. It's probably what started saving my life, was the instant vomiting. And, we got in, they got us in right away, and all I remember is they were pumping my stomach and, putting charcoal and putting this tar stuff in my mouth and just throwing up, and everybody trying to get my stomach pumped and working hard, and nurses and doctors, my mom even. And as hard as my childhood could have been or was, or, as hard as my mom has been, I mean, in those situations, she was there for an emergency. And I made it through that. I do have short-term memory lapses. I don't remember anything long-term, so I'm very forgetful. Since my brain bleed, it's actually way worse. So I can be in mid-conversation and literally completely forget what I'm talking about. So if I'm ever vlogging or doing a YouTube, it does happen where I'll just all of a sudden blank out, and I have no idea what I had, what was going on in my brain. It's completely blank. It just all of a sudden goes blank, and nothing of what my conversation is with the person. I can be in mid-conversation, like, okay, do you want bananas? And I completely forget what I just said. I can't even remember any of it. And it's really difficult. So I do suffer short-term memory loss, I believe. I had inflammation in my head, which keeps me off balance. So I do get off balance quite often. I lose my balance. I fall to the right more than anything. Since my brain bleed, I'm constantly falling to the right and trying to brace myself. I look like I'm a drunk in public sometimes. So people look at me and I'm like, yeah, whatever. You know what? You have no idea what I've been through. So I don't care. I don't drink anymore. I haven't drank for probably about 5 years maybe. Don't smoke. I do, engage with the THC, cannabis, CBD and stuff like that, because I've taken myself off of a large amount of painkillers. I was on a Butrin patch, which I guess they use for horses for pain. And when I found that out, I knew I needed to do something better for my own health as well. Instead of being on all these painkillers, unfortunately with thyroid, when your disease progresses, you get joint pains, you get leg pains, you get just, a lot of issues, cancer, all that stuff. It was, and plus I've been through a lot physically. My bones are hurting quite often. As a child, I was through a lot. So I have, a lot of damages done to my head, a lot of damages done to my body. So I do suffer a lot of pain. My hands, my wrists, you name it. And it's not just from my childhood traumas. I mean, I was rough as a kid. I mean, I would flip a bike. I would go head first into a floor somewhere, trying to toboggan. I toboggan into the wall from, when you're inside the house and you go down the stairs. And yeah, I did it. So, I'm not going to be sitting there saying that everything is my mom's fault or my dad's fault or, or this or that, because I was a reckless kid. I was adventurous. So, my own injuries, contributed probably. So here we are with all these scenarios and all these situations, and I have to live through them and cope through them. And then I've got a large amount of people that we've lost in our life, and the amount of grief I carry from loss is insane. The amount of people I know who have passed away from suicide, and which is what I suffer from, is suicidal tendency thoughts. I'm constantly thinking about it. I constantly think I shouldn't exist, that every time people come near me, I'm just ruin their life. And all of these things. And I started thinking about the amount of people that I've known who have lost their lives to suicide was insane. From the amount of people that have hung themselves to the amount of people who've shot themselves, that become drug addicted, that and just feel lost, and to a point that they're there and then they get so far trapped, it's nowhere else to go. And it's kind of where I feel sometimes, actually quite a bit of times. I've been through 2 previous types of assaults in my past, and those have been hard to overcome as well, because you want to learn to trust people or try to trust them or things like that, and try to have a normal life, and it's not easy. So it's a struggle. I feel like every time I turn around, like today, I was trying to do videos or blogs or vlogs or whatever. I did a blog and I was trying to get videos up and going and stuff. And it was just one event after another. I didn't realize, like how to transfer. I thought you just plop your SD card into your phone and everything on your phone will work that way. Well, no, then I find out you have to transfer it onto your SD card. So I'm switching 3 SD cards going, don't understand. And then I finally realized it's my internal storage. So I really suck at technology, guys. I'm really bad with technology. And I suck at it horribly. Horribly. So I am using my phone because even my daughter's crashed, I don't know, she locked us out somehow of my laptop or something. I don't know. And I could never get back in it. Trying for online schooling, the whole COVID situations was just hard to deal with as it was. Trying to recoup with myself after I had that brain bleed. It was very traumatic. Mentally, it was traumatic. The pain is unreal. And I fear that I just constantly am like, oh gosh. And I do suffer from thunderclap headaches now every so often. It's literally intense. It goes from 0 to 60 from what I read in instant pain. So my thunderclaps headaches every time they come on, 0 to 60 in pain, and then I'm at risk of another another brain bleed as well every time I have thunderclap headaches. So we have to quickly act, and we found Ativan really helps. Unfortunately, we tried everything for these migraines, and we found that Ativan works really quick to start stabilizing my spasms of my brain wanting to explode, or the side of this vein. I can feel it pulse, and it's the only thing that keeps that from happening. And it's strange, and even the doctors find it strange, but it is what it is. And Hugo himself has come from, I know my language is it's been a day. I literally suffered from massive depression this past week, and literally been into that depression mode where I've literally been crying off and on all day today. Nothing has been working. I snapped a Qtip in my ear today. I don't know, I grabbed it. It was a wooden Qtip, and I didn't even think about it. Wooden good Qtip. What am I thinking? And it snapped literally inside my ear and broke off. And we thought I was going to have to go to the hospital for that. I'm claustrophobic, so it was so hard for me to sit there with something blocking my ear and inside my ear and totally invading my body like that. So then it was stuck there, and it wasn't, like I said, yes, let's stick this Q-tip in my ear and leave it there, but it broke off. So that was eventful. Hugo thought he couldn't get it out, but he did. It was able to. It was far in, but he was able to get it in very gradually without any pain or damage or anything like that, which was really scary. So don't put Q-tips in your ears, people. When they say don't do it, don't do it. Because honest to God, I was sweating in absolute distress. I was absolutely stressed. It was so crazy. And these are just the crazy events that happened to us. And then here I'm switching all these SD cards. Oh, my phone's not working. And, life is falling down and it's all crumbling. And you're going, I'm just starting all this and I just suck. And that's, the part of the depression and the lack of confidence that you have from depression sometimes is trying to build that all back up again. That self-esteem that I can get there and that we will get there. And I started to decide to start documenting documenting my progress on how I do daily, because every day is a fight for me to want to survive. And I shouldn't be selfish this way. I have a daughter who fights for her life and who is on a trach vent, feeding tube, all that stuff, and appreciates and never takes a day for granted. I struggle, but I don't struggle. I feel like, how do I explain it? You feel like you just ruin everybody every day, and they're, like that every time somebody comes around you, you're the reason why bad things happen. Like, you just feel like you cannot have people around you because everything bad happens around you, and you are going to bring that into their life. Excuse me. And we don't want to do that. And you just become so low because you don't know how to bring yourself back up from that depth that you're so deep and dark inside, stuck in. So myself, I want to start bringing that back out. I want to start finding my light again. I want to start finding my life again. And I started realizing that, if I could be, for anybody who wants to follow us or that does follow us, be that person to travel with, that, someone who's going through the same situations as us or similar emotions of struggles, that they aren't alone, because this is a real situation. It's a real struggle. And it's become a big crisis, especially Alberta. It's really increased. Mental health has become a real big crisis here and just keeps escalating. And I'm sure it is like that everywhere around the world, especially since COVID. And then we've got our healthcare system that's just crashing, and everyone around the world is in chaos, running around with chickens, everywhere, trying to catch them and trying to catch up to this pace that we have created of chaos. It's like, after COVID, it was so scrambly. Even for us during the COVID, we did fairly well for nursing staff. We do have to have LPN care for our daughter. We're starting to look at considering HCA care because it's difficult to get LPN care. And we need LPN qualified care due to her fragile care situation, things like that. But COVID brought in a lot of nursing shortage. It brought in a lot of opportunities for online home people, everything like that, and decreased our opportunities because we cannot pay a whole big amount. The company pays what they pay and get what they get from FSCD, or it's a government thing that everybody receives, or not everybody receives, but that support to say, okay, we're going to help you with your nurses and stuff like that, which is a blessing, thank God, because you do a lot of the care yourself at home, and nobody is taking care of you on that situation. That is care I have to take on. And yes, I could just say, it's just easier to take my daughter, let her go, and just let life be. But that's not fair, and that's not giving my daughter the opportunity or her rights to her voice or what she appreciates, or the things we take for granted. And I really struggled with a lot of it. It took me a long time to figure out what I was going to do, and I just kept having this direction of gut feeling. And I even remember telling Hugo, he kept telling me one day, he's like, what, Lisa, maybe we should let her go. And I said, what, the problem is nobody wants to really be proactive or try to help us. So everybody is working this tidal wave against us. And I'm trying to swim the right direction, but I can't because everybody's pushing the waves in the other direction. And it was so hard, so difficult. So I became this advocate that, nobody wanted to stand beside, because no, people are not going to believe in this. And I do understand that there are going to be people who do not believe in, all these things. We're facing so many different dynamics of diversities right now. The abortion discussions, which I can get into later on, because actually being a medical mom and being pregnant was quite, it was quite controversial, I should say. The support wasn't there. Even when my son came through his SMA, people started feeling a little bit more at ease and stuff like that. But it became difficult. And yes, we had to look at the other child's life and things like that. But we already had children, and we were like, what? Really honestly, with altogether, us having 6 children in total, or 5 children in total, it was a lot of children. And we were like, you know, they just are, the numbers what they are. It was like almost no different of having another one. And it's not only just that, it was the fact that, you know, I wanted a family myself always a lot in my life. And I wanted to have a different lifestyle, a change from what I grew up with, and be that mom that could break the chain and say, you know what, we're not that dynamic of what people think we should be, because, you know, they see this image and nobody wants to talk about what you've gone through. They just, oh yeah, there's that rebel kid and who's got problems, and nobody wants to help that grungy person with the problems and things like that. You don't want to. You just, you're like, I got enough problems of my own. What people don't realize though is when you say that, it's just your easy scapegoat of saying like, I can't deal with your crap, but you're going to have to carry the weight yourself because I can't deal with what you're dealing with. It's too much for me. And if it's the point where people should be able to stop and think, this is too much for me. God, what is it like for that person then? Like, can I get that person a cup of coffee? Can I just go for a walk with them? There are things people can do, but they just choose not to. And it's been a real struggle for myself, because even myself, as being someone who suffers from all these depressions and anxieties, I end up suffering with a social anxiety, which means I will be like, okay, we're going to go for that walk. And this is part of the PTSD too. And then I'm going to go for that walk. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, I freeze up. My chest tightens right here. I cannot breathe. I'm like suffocating and I'm sweating. And I'm like, no, I'm not going. I don't want to see people, be around people, talk to people. I'm just going to make a mess. I'm going to get in a fight with someone. Someone's going to yell at me. I'm going to do something wrong. You know, I don't want to go anywhere. And lo and behold, sometimes people are like, hey, you're not supposed to park there. Hey, you're not supposed, and, you know, and then I tend to back off and I'm like, okay, I'm done for the day. So it is really a lot for us to explain what our life is about, really how this channel is coming to be. And thank you for our new followers who I'm sure probably wondering, what the hell kind of people are you? But we are doing our best, and I am learning as I go. Hugo and I, our relationship is really up and down, which doesn't help when you're trying to do something that is meaningful. Both of us suffer from the PTSD. He has adult onset ADHD that's been untreated, which is really also difficult to deal with. My Sasha Berry is with me, which is difficult for both of us to deal with. I'm partly, I don't know, OCD in a sense. So his ADHD likes mess and chaos, and he can find whatever he needs in his mess and chaos. But for me, being an OCD type of person, I need to have structure and organization. And our youngest is also ADHD as well. So I am following around 2 people who constantly, their brains are so busy, they're leaping from one project to the next project to the next project, and they don't stop, neither one of them. Like, they're constantly on the go, and they're constantly talking, and they're constantly, you know, losing things. Hugo daily, and it's so hard on me mentally, constantly, every day. Where's the keys? Where did I put my coffee? Where did I put my phone? Where, you know, it's constant every day. Where is this? And it's constant every day. We are looking for the exact same things. So it's really hard on me mentally. And we're both trying to learn a whole new structure together. I didn't have full support from Hugo in the beginning of our relationship. I think there was just a lot we didn't come to terms on, or see, or I don't know what it was. We just, no, it was just like, I think it was hard for Hugo to come out of this relationship that he had been in, and to find out he had been cheated on and then start a new relationship. I think it was almost too fast for both of us, and started this new relationship where he was the only person he trusted, or ever trusted, in all those years. 9 years before of his life was his ex. So every time she spoke, it was like, yeah, okay, you know, she's upset that you're doing this, or upset that you're doing that. And I was like, look, she doesn't live my life. And in order for me to do anything or work from home, I need to be able to do these things. And it was a struggle, and it became a real dynamic in our relationship. So there are real dynamic issues in struggles in a real person's life, and we all know that. But guess we're in a place where we work on everything, and it's all, like I say, step by step, day by day. We'll see where our road goes. We end up going separate ways, we go separate ways. We stay together, we stay together. A lot of people have asked us to start a YouTube channel. They really enjoy our topics, they enjoy our conversations, and I don't know, there's so many people that have really been interested in our life and really encourage us to start a YouTube channel. It's taken us years. We did one 2008, we started one. It's LL Lohan, and you could put NL Lohan's name in there and check it out. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to get that channel back open, but it shows Anna when she was a baby, shows some of what we were going through as she was her first trach change even. So we did her first trach change on YouTube. So that was done there, and there's a lot of really neat, interesting stories that we can share as a medical family. A lot of people might think, oh my gosh, that's boring, but it's not just about being a medical family. I also am going through all these dynamics, and I want to be able to start making changes within the mental health realm of this world, I guess. Or even if I can make a difference in one person's life that says, you know what, I know what you're dealing with, I know what you're talking about, I can relate, or anything like that. And, you know, just be that step of focus that people can walk with and know that they're not alone in the mental health struggles of life. I go through it, we all go through it. And it is a struggle. It's a struggle when people really don't understand the depths of it, how serious it can be, how painful it can be, any of those kinds of things. So I guess you'll be following a medical journey, just kind of our odds and ends of weirdness, that things that happen, like having the Qtip break in my ear today. That was intense. I was so seriously panicked and scared. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, you know, all these things are going through my head. Oh my God, I'm going to have to go through the hospital for just this, you know, so that they can pull out this thing. What if they can't get it out? What if it goes further into my ear? It was just crazy. Like, maybe I'll be able to cough it out if it comes the right way through my canal. I don't know. Oh, it was so insane, and it was uncomfortable to have it inside my ear. That is my life. You know, and then the SD cards and what else. It was just one thing after another event after another. You know, oh, we couldn't find the bank card. It was like, oh my God, where'd you put the bank card? So we were searching for the bank card like for an hour today. It was so, just, it's those days, and you just try to get one task done, but you're stuck in all these other tasks because you have two similar lifestyles, but the same lifestyle. We're both tired a lot, and you know, just trying to figure our ways back to the surface again and start bringing ourselves back up mentally again. We want to be able to really bring ourselves back up again, and start making that step. And I know that, you know, in our relationship, it may not be perfect or whatever, but we need to take steps for ourselves, and that's what we're starting to do, is take those directions, and we're starting to take those steps. And I am starting this YouTube channel. I'm starting to put myself out there raw, literally raw on this. And I know there's going to be critics. I know there's going to be people who don't agree, people who do agree, people who understand, and that's a variety of people, and that's what we are about. You know, there's so many variety of opinions, and if we didn't have them, we'd never learn and grow. So just keep them classy, keep them clean. Try to remember, you know, mental health is a serious situation, which is one of the reasons why I do ask to keep it clean, because I do suffer from serious struggles in myself. So, you know, the nasty comments are not needed, and you don't like it, you don't like it, you do. Anyways, I hope you enjoy what we begin to start sharing, and it's not going to be as boring as this talk, I hope. I know I'm not the most enthusiastic person or the most gorgeous person out of all people to look at, but I am here, and I am alive, and I'm taking one step at a time.
When things are right, you just know there is something in voice that brings me home. 'Cause when there's love, you don't let go. So as long as you're with me, you're not alone, you'll never be